In the headlines of this hour on VTV News, Prime Minister MINH's activities in China. And legislators discuss draft law on amendments and supplements to laws. In our world news, we'll see how U.S. foreign policy changed under Donald Trump.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning, it is 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huynh Chen with the top stories. Vietnamese State President Luong Quoc and Party General Secretary and President of Laos Thongloun Sisoulith held online talks on Friday to discuss the current situation of the two countries and the bilateral relationship. The Lao top leader extended his congratulations to the Vietnamese leader on his election as the state president, showing the Vietnamese party state and people's trust and high appreciation for his contributions to the cause of national construction and protection. The Vietnamese state leader affirmed that in his new role, he would continue to closely work with the Lao leader and other high-ranking Lao leaders to further nurture the great relations, special solidarity and comprehensive cooperation between the two countries. The two leaders pledged to continue directing relevant agencies of both sides to effectively deploy the outcomes of the recent meeting between the two Politburos and a high-level agreement, actively prepare for the upcoming 47th session of the Vietnam-Laos Intergovernmental Committee, and also tackle challenges in key projects to ensure more sustainable and effective bilateral economic collaboration. Now, during his official visit to China, Prime Minister MINH met with Secretary of Chongqing Municipal Party Committee, Yuan Jiazhuan. The Prime Minister praised Chongqing's achievements in economic development and reforms, highlighting the importance of Vietnam-China relations. He confirmed Vietnam's support for boosting cooperation between the two sides, particularly through establishing the Vietnamese Consulate General in Chongqing, which will facilitate closer ties in trade, culture, tourism, and local cooperation. Secretary Yuan emphasized Chongqing's commitment to strengthening its long-standing partnership with Vietnam, the city's largest trade partner in ASEAN. He welcomed the establishment of the Consulate General and expressed confidence that it will serve as a key link to enhance cooperation. Both sides agreed to focus on boosting trade, utilizing the China-Europe rail route, and exploring more opportunities for collaboration in tourism and education, as well as facilitating direct flights between the two regions. Prime Minister MINH attended a Vietnam-China business seminar in Chongqing City on Friday. The event took place as part of the Vietnamese leader's trip to attend the 8th Greater Mekong Subregion GMS Summit and bilateral activities in China.
Over the last 10 years, bilateral trade between China and Vietnam has increased over fourfold, turning China into the largest exporter of goods to Vietnam and Vietnam into the top trading partner of China in ASEAN. Meanwhile, China's investment has risen over sevenfold to rank 6th among 148 countries and territories investing in the Southeast Asian nation. In 2023, it took the lead in terms of the number of new investment projects in Vietnam. In the sound relationship between the two countries, Chongqing has always been a locality with a long-standing friendship and close-knit ties with Vietnam. Addressing the event, Prime Minister Pham Minh highlighted the similarities and close bonds between Vietnam and China in terms of nature, culture, and history. The two countries are connected by mountains and rivers, have shared a long-standing history of relations and a friendship of being both comrades and brothers.
I urge businesses from both countries to enhance investment and business cooperation. We should promote the connection between the two economies through both hard and soft connections, including transportation and telecommunications infrastructure. These will help implement the agreements, commitments, and common understandings of the highest leaders of both parties and countries and would bring benefits to businesses and people in both nations. Vietnam always supports a strong, prosperous China that plays a leading role on the international stage.
Regarding the firm's recommendations, the Prime Minister said the smart customs system has been carried out to simplify customs procedures while the competent sides of the two countries have built policies to improve logistics infrastructure, provide financial support, foster technical cooperation, and develop emerging industries, such as the digital economy, green economy, circular economy, as well as traceability for products, packaging, and product design. At the event, 7 memoranda of understanding were signed between Vietnamese and Chinese companies across various domains, including railway, battery storage production, and development of energy-supporting industry.
Now, also on the same day, Prime Minister Phie attended a program introducing Vietnam's culture and tourism and met with Vietnamese students and the Vietnamese community in Chinese Chongqing City as part of his trip to attend the 8th Greater Mekong Sub-Region GMS Summit and working visit to China. More in the following.
Whilst attending a program introducing Vietnam's culture and tourism, Prime Minister Pham called for enhancing cultural and tourism cooperation between Vietnam and China. In his remarks, the Prime Minister said China is a neighbor sharing the borderline, mountains, and rivers with, and also a traditional socialist and close friend of Vietnam. For the last nearly 75 years, the friendship that features both comradeship and fraternity, nurtured by generations of Vietnamese and Chinese leaders, has become a precious common asset of the two parties, the two countries, and their people. Agencies and businesses of the two countries discussed measures to foster cooperation in cultural and tourism development and facilitate bilateral travel between their people, helping consolidate a solid social foundation for the comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership and the building of a Vietnam-China community with a shared future that carries strategic significance.
Earlier on the same day, during a meeting with Vietnamese students and the Vietnamese community in Chongqing, the Prime Minister conveyed the warm greetings and best wishes from the party and state leaders to everyone. He expressed his hopes that they remain healthy, happy, and continue to make progress and develop in their studies and work. He encouraged them to maintain the spirit of solidarity and mutual support while making practical and effective contributions to the country. The Prime Minister also encouraged the students to continuously strive, be ambitious, have dreams and aspirations, and develop self-reliance and resilience. He urged them to act as a bridge of friendship between Vietnam and China.
And following the talk in the afternoon, Prime Minister Phie visited the Hongan historical site and Chongqing International Logistics Center.
During his visit to the Hongan historical site, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh expressed the Vietnamese government's sincere gratitude to the Chongqing Party Committee, local government, and people for preserving President Ho Chi Minh's memorial room at the Hongan Revolutionary Memorial House. The Prime Minister emphasized that this valuable historical site serves as a vivid testament to the close and enduring friendship between the Communist parties and peoples of Vietnam and China, particularly during each nation's struggle for independence. He expressed confidence that the site will continue to play a role in educating future generations about the revolutionary tradition, strengthening the social foundation for the comprehensive strategic partnership between Vietnam and China, and contributing to a shared future with strategic significance.
While visiting the Chongqing International Logistics Center, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh highly praised the center's strategic location and its role in facilitating trade connections. He expressed a desire for both sides to enhance linkages in road, waterway, and rail transport, especially through the international rail route from Vietnam through Chongqing to Central Asia and Europe. This route has great market potential but faces transportation challenges. He proposed establishing a new trade corridor that would connect not only Vietnam and China but also ASEAN, Central Asia, and Europe. Furthermore, he called on China to work closely with Vietnamese partners to develop logistics, boost trade, and related industries, enabling Vietnamese goods to access the Chinese market and be exported to third countries, especially the Middle East and Europe.
On Friday afternoon, National Assembly deputies discussed investment policies for the National Target Program on Drug Prevention and Control until 2030. The draft law amending and supplementing several articles of the advertising law and the amended draft law on chemicals. More in the following.
At the session, whilst agreeing with the policy to invest in the National Target Program on Drug Prevention and Control until 2030, many deputies expressed their concerns about allocating resources to achieve this goal.
Central funding accounts for over 78%, and local funding is over 20% of the total source. In the previous terms, local funding was nearly 90%, and central funding was only 10%. This change is so difficult to understand. The resources allocated for the program have quadrupled. This needs explanation.
The Task Force for Drug Prevention has limited means of transportation and equipment. Criminals use high-speed motorbikes, while task forces have normal ones. Their equipment is even far inferior to that of the criminals. It is a challenge. Therefore, I fully support the proposal for this National Target Program.
Deputies also suggested a more detailed assessment of home-based rehabilitation models to find better solutions for the future.
The home-based rehabilitation model has not been effective. It's been implemented for many years, but the results have been very poor. We need to clarify the level of investment to meet the set targets.
On the topic of the revised advertising law, deputies proposed adding regulations and penalties to address the widespread issue of false advertising on social media.
Social media platforms are full of rampant and false advertising. These platforms often exaggerate or promote things that are legally prohibited. In my opinion, if this issue falls within the scope of the law, it should be reviewed and potentially incorporated into the law.
National Assembly deputies also gave opinions on the amended draft law on chemicals.
At the invitation of Chilean President Gabriel Boric Font and Peruvian President Dina Ercilia Boliard Zeguera, State President Lung Kung will make an official visit to Chile and Peru. This will be State President Lung Kung's first overseas trip in his new role, and it is expected to create strong momentum to elevate Vietnam's relations with these two partner countries to new heights.
Currently, Peru is Vietnam's largest recipient of direct investment in Latin America and its sixth largest trading partner in the region, while Vietnam is Peru's largest trade partner within ASEAN. Last year, the trade volume between the two countries reached nearly $500 million. This year also marks the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two nations.
This official visit of the President of Vietnam to Peru will be a milestone in our diplomatic relations, not only because of the 30 years of commemorations, but also because it's the first visit of a president of Vietnam to Peru. And we expect to strengthen ties between both countries.
Before his visit to Peru, State President Lung Kung will make official visit to Chile, one of Vietnam's most important partners in the region and the first Latin America country to sign a free trade agreement with Vietnam. This visit is expected to bring a new vitality to Vietnam-Chile relations, boosting cooperation in areas with significant potential, particularly trade.
The visit will further strengthen traditional friendly relations, deepen political trust, and effectively leverage cooperative opportunities, promoting Vietnam's ties with both countries and the Latin American region as a whole. Additionally, it will enhance collaboration in addressing global challenges. The trip is expected to inject new momentum into the comprehensive partnership between Vietnam and Chile, as well as the multifaceted cooperation with Peru.
During his first overseas mission in his new role, State President Lung Kung will also attend the 2024 Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC Leaders Week held in Peru.
Coming up next on VTV News. Yak 130 plane found in Đắk Lắk. And let's explore the beauty of Simacai Market. Welcome back to VTV News. Now, around 2:30 p.m. on November 8th, the Yak 130 aircraft, which had encountered an incident during training, was found near the ranger station at checkpoint number 9 in Nhúc Đôn National Park, Đắk Lắk province. Earlier, a local resident from Drang Phúc reported hearing an unusual explosion in the forest, providing additional clues for the search effort. The area where the plane crashed is densely covered with large trees. And previously, Military Zone Number 5 collaborated with local air defense, military units, and authorities, mobilizing thousands of personnel and deploying drones to locate the suspected crash site in Krông Na Commune, Buôn Đôn District, Đắk Lắk Province. Recent heavy rains in Thừa Thiên Huế Province have caused new landslides, raising safety concerns. At Phú Gia Mountain in Lộc Tiến Commune, Phú Lộc District, a 50-meter-long crack has collapsed downhill, affecting more than 30 households. In Lộc Bình Commune, large waves have eroded about 100 meters of the Hai Binh coastal embankment near the Tư Hiền estuary, encroaching on a local road and risking isolation for over 100 households. Authorities have placed warning signs, fenced off dangerous areas, and are closely monitoring landslide developments to implement timely measures to protect residents' lives and property. Now, in the past, businesses in Vạn Phúc Silk Village, Hanoi, faced numerous challenges due to their reliance on traditional storefronts for transactions. However, the recent digital transformation in the village has already made a significant impact. This is a digital transformation training session at Block 9, Vạn Phúc Ward, Hà Đông District, Hanoi, organized by the local youth union. Most of the participants are older adults, yet they are eager to learn about new technologies.
We've been introduced to the National Digital Transformation Program by the party and the local authorities, like VNEID and eTax Mobile, which we've been able to use due to the guidance. Business owners in Vạn Phúc Silk Village have realized the benefits of promoting products online, selling through e-commerce platforms, and offering home delivery. This has allowed them to reach a broader range of customers.
Vân used to only sell to customers who visited her store, but now she holds online sales sessions 4 times a week. Her customer base has expanded to include many regular buyers from overseas.
In this digital age, I can now showcase my products to a much larger audience, and our sales are definitely increased as a result. Live streaming makes trade and customer connections much easier. Customers love it because they can see that these products are made by us right here in Vạn Phúc.
Today, nearly all residents of Vạn Phúc Silk Village have grown accustomed to selling their products online. Digital transformation has changed the operations of over 300 local businesses, helping them promote their products more widely to both domestic and international customers. Simacai, a border district in northeastern Lào, is home to 15 ethnic groups, creating a vibrant cultural tapestry. The weekly market here serves as a lively gathering place where local ethnic communities trade and showcase their way of life, attracting visitors from afar.
Every weekend, Mafu has to travel very early to this fair to sell her homegrown pears.
My family grows 200 pear trees, and I earn over 100 million VND annually from selling pears and plums. This fair is very important for us.
Market fairs in the highlands are crucial for selling homegrown products and help locals stabilize their livelihoods. For instance, VTV from Bukha district, who sews traditional Hmong clothing, earns enough from her stall to support her family.
I come here every week without fail. My sales cover our expenses and my children's schooling.
The market remains authentic, full of vibrant colors and local products. Vegetables, fruits, clothing, food. It's fascinating.
While the Kanko market convenes on weekends, the CHINH'S fair is held on Wednesdays, featuring a bustling cattle area where locals trade buffalo, symbols of prosperity.
People send and buy some animals to help them with agriculture. I like to see all the people in different ethnies of the region.
The market fairs are not only about commerce, they're also places for community gathering.
This unique atmosphere draws around 300,000 visitors to Simacai each year, mostly for the CHINH'S and Kanko cultural markets. To foster sustainable tourism, local authorities are working on establishing cultural villages, community and ecotourism sites, and temperate fruit orchard experiences.
Preserving these traditional market fairs, alongside improved infrastructure, is paving the way for growth of a smokeless tourism industry.
Coming up next in our world news, we'll take a look at how U.S. foreign policy may change under Donald Trump. And United Nations warns of worsening climate impacts. Now moving on to our world news, Donald Trump's return to the White House is expected to reshape U.S. foreign policy, potentially bringing sweeping changes across various aspects as war and instability affect multiple regions worldwide. Now, during his campaign, Trump opposed large-scale financial and military support for Kyiv and pledged to quickly end the conflict. Following Trump's victory, a Hamas spokesperson recently expressed a desire to immediately end the conflict with Israel. President-elect Trump will also inherit the U.S.-China relationship, which has been re-established over recent years by President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Analysts suggest that the communication channels established between the U.S. and China under Biden administration will be crucial tools for managing the persistent tension in U.S.-China relations in the future under Trump's leadership. Asian stock markets saw a strong surge on Friday following the record increase of the Wall Street market after the U.S. Federal Reserve Fed decided to cut interest rates. In Tokyo, Japan, the Nikkei 225 index increased by 1.02%. And in South Korea, the composite stock index, KOSPI, increased by 0.86%. In China, the Shanghai Composite Index increased by 0.91%. And on Thursday, the Fed decided to lower the benchmark interest rate by 0.25%, bringing the current U.S.-based interest rate from 4.5 to 4.75%, in line with market expectations. Following the Fed's decision to lower interest rates, many banks around the world have also reduced interest rates, such as the Bank of England, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority of China, and the Gulf countries. Indonesia and Russia have launched their first joint naval drills as Indonesia's new leader looks to boost ties with Russia. The 5-day exercise will be held in 2 phases at a naval base in the Indonesian city of Surabaya and in the Java Sea. The Indonesian Navy said Russia would send 3 corvettes, a medium tanker, a military helicopter, and a tugboat to take part in the exercise. Indonesia has billions of dollars in trade with Russia, but major arms import deals between the two countries have stalled in recent years. The United Nations warned on Thursday that humanity was not keeping up with worsening climate impacts, as scientists reported that 2024 would be the hottest year on record. More in the following story.
The remarks were delivered as part of a United Nations report ahead of the COP29 UN climate negotiations that found the amount of finance provided to developing countries to help them adapt to the impacts of climate change hit only $28 billion in 2022.
Climate catastrophe is hammering health, widening inequalities, harming sustainable development, and rocking the foundations of peace. The vulnerable are hardest hit, and taxpayers are footing the bill, while the purveyors of all this destruction, particularly the fossil fuel industry, reap massive profits and subsidies. Meanwhile, the gap between the funds needed for adaptation and the funds available to developing countries is set to reach up to $359 billion a year by 2030.
Adaptation finance could potentially cover activities, including building flood defences against rising sea levels, planting trees in urban areas to protect against extreme heat, and ensuring infrastructure can withstand tropical storms, whereas mitigation financing typically covers reducing emissions or changing energy systems.
It's hard to say whether it's increasing or decreasing, because there is more money coming in over time, but at the same time, the needs are growing too, because the impacts are growing.
Though the $28 billion adaptation finance figure is a $6 billion increase, the largest recorded, the gap is not necessarily shrinking.
Now, as usual, let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app at VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.